Let me tell you something real. The world doesn't care how tired you are or how much you've been through. It won't hand you peace, power, or purpose. You have to claim it. And if you want to win, you must learn how to outsmart everything, including yourself. When emotions run wild, logic runs away. You may not realize it in the moment, but every emotional reaction you give away freely becomes a tool for someone else to use against you. The ability to control your emotions isn't just a soft skill. It's one of the most lethal powers you can possess in a chaotic world. Emotional discipline is the difference between being the master of your life or a puppet pulled by the strings of your moods and triggers. People who don't learn to manage their anger, insecurity, jealousy, or fear often find themselves making decisions they regret, burning bridges they needed, or trusting the wrong people, simply because they weren't calm enough to see clearly. You must train your mind to feel everything without reacting to everything. That doesn't mean becoming numb. It means being strategic. It means choosing your response instead of giving one away. A calm mind doesn't mean you're not hurt, confused, or disappointed. It means you've decided to rise above the noise and stay focused on the mission. Most people confuse emotional outbursts with strength. But real strength is found in restraint. To be able to walk away when every cell in your body wants to fight, to stay silent when your pride is screaming for validation, that's mastery. Think about how many times in your life something fell apart, not because of what happened, but because of how you responded. You lashed out, reacted too soon, took something personally, and made a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling. That's what emotional chaos does. It clouds your vision and blocks your blessings. And the world, especially people who seek to manipulate and control, love when you're predictable. If someone knows they can make you angry, jealous, or insecure with a few words, they own you. That's not power. That's vulnerability disguised as passion. When you control your emotions, you become unpredictable. You become hard to read, harder to manipulate, and nearly impossible to break. Your calmness becomes your armor. Your patience becomes your shield. You begin to move in silence, responding when it's right, not just when you're provoked. That's what separates powerful leaders from emotional reactors. It's not about avoiding emotion, it's about converting emotion into intelligence. You take your anger and turn it into fuel. You take your sadness and convert it into growth. You take your fear and use it as a compass, pointing you towards strength. There is a reason why the calmest person in the room is often the most respected. Stillness speaks volumes. Composure demands attention. And in a world that thrives on drama, chaos, and noise, the one who controls their inner world becomes untouchable in the outer one. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, insult you, or pull you into a storm, pause. Breathe. Remember, you control this moment, not them, not your ego, not your pain. You. Emotional discipline is not a weakness. It is the foundation of real, lasting power. Learn everything, speak little. It sounds simple, but in a world addicted to noise, it's one of the most difficult and most powerful disciplines to master. Most people are too busy talking, trying to prove how much they know, seeking validation, or defending themselves to anyone who questions their value. But the one who listens more than they speak always has the advantage. When you speak less, you give less away, less of your strategy, less of your weakness, less of your emotional state. You protect your thoughts the way a warrior protects his sword, because every word you speak has a cost. It gives others access to your intentions, your fears, your dreams, and your vulnerabilities. People often assume silence is weakness, but that couldn't be further from the truth. True silence, the kind that comes from confidence and clarity, is strength. It is power. The one who sits quietly, observing the room, reading the energy, picking up on body language and listening to tone, not just words, is gathering data. They are calculating their move, refining their strategy, sharpening their responses before a single word leaves their mouth. Meanwhile, others are too busy trying to impress. But when the silent one finally speaks, the whole room stops to listen. That's not accidental. That's intentional. Wisdom doesn't shout, it whispers. The wise don't waste breath proving they are smart. They let the depth of their knowledge show through their restraint. The more you learn, the more you realize that most conversations aren't worth entering, most arguments don't deserve your energy, and most people talk not to share value but to fill the space. When you operate with discipline and awareness, you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. You start choosing your words the way a sniper chooses their shot, deliberate, focused, and with undeniable impact. Being quiet doesn't mean being invisible. It means being strategic. You don't need to announce your plans to make progress. You don't have to shout your vision to make it real. You just need to move with purpose, speak with precision, and let your results speak volumes. You become untouchable when people can figure out your next move. You become a mystery in a world that's desperate for attention, and there is serious power in that. You have to understand people can't manipulate what they can't read. They can't block what they don't see coming, and they can't copy a strategy they've never heard. Silence isn't just for peace, it's for positioning. When you're quiet, you're dangerous, because people never know how much you know, and in that uncertainty lies your leverage. So keep studying, keep reading, keep watching, learn everything, but let your silence protect what you've learned. Speak only when your words are sharper than your enemy's actions. That's how you lead without yelling. That's how you win without showing your hand. And that's how you gain power without ever asking for it. Move with precision, not permission. Too many people are waiting for someone to notice them, waiting for approval, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. But the truth is, no one is coming to hand you greatness. The world doesn't stop to give you a round of applause before you begin. Success isn't given to the ones who wait patiently at the back of the line. It's claimed by those who step forward with boldness, with focus, and with conviction, even when no one else believes in them yet. When you move with precision, you stop asking if you're good enough. You stop hesitating, overthinking, or waiting for the stars to align. You already know what you want. You've done the work. You've sharpened your skills, built your plan, and prepared yourself in silence. Now it's time to execute. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need someone to open a door for you. You build your own doors. And if one slams shut in your face, you pivot, you adapt, and you create another path forward. Precision means moving with clarity. You're not acting out of desperation or impulse. You're moving because you've made a decision. You've defined your vision, and now every step is calculated to bring you closer to it. People who wait for permission often end up stuck in the same place for years, paralyzed by fear, afraid of rejection or judgment. But when you understand that validation is not a requirement for progress, you take your power back. You stop performing for approval and start building with purpose. Greatness doesn't wait for a crowd. It starts in the shadows, it grows in silence, it becomes undeniable through consistency. When you move with precision, you don't need to explain your path. You let your progress speak for you. You're not chasing opportunities. You're creating them. You're not hoping to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And the world? The world respects the bold. It steps aside for those who know where they're going. Not because they're louder, but because they're certain. Confidence in your movement makes people pay attention. You walk like the ground belongs to you, not because of arrogance, but because of alignment. You've aligned your actions with your vision, your discipline with your purpose, and your mindset with your mission. Stop waiting. Stop asking for permission to do what you were born to do. Start now. Move with intention, move with strength, move with belief in yourself so strong that others have no choice but to believe too. Precision over permission every single time. Because when you truly know who you are and what you're here to do, you don't need a green light. You become the light. Turn every setback into strategy. Life isn't fair, and it never promised to be. It will knock you down when you least expect it. The plans you carefully built will collapse, the people you trusted will disappoint you, and the path you thought was yours will suddenly vanish. But here's what separates those who rise from those who stay buried in defeat. Perspective. Setbacks are not the end. They are instructions. They don't come to destroy you. They come to show you something you wouldn't have seen if everything had gone perfectly. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. The moment you understand that, everything changes. Failure isn't final unless you make it so. Every rejection is simply a redirection. guiding you toward a better version of yourself or a better path you hadn't yet discovered. It's not about avoiding struggle. It's about learning how to use struggle as a training ground. Every time something breaks, you're given a blueprint on how to rebuild it better. Every time someone leaves, you're shown who truly belongs. Every delay, every loss, every disappointment is an opportunity to evolve, mentally, emotionally, and strategically. Too many people treat setbacks as signs to stop. They interpret pain as a sign they're not meant for success. But that's not how winners think. Winners look at the damage, the loss, the chaos, and they extract lessons from it. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? What weakness did this expose? What strategy must I refine? Then they adjust and go again. They don't crumble, they calculate. They don't panic, they plan. Because behind every great success story is a series of painful chapters that taught powerful lessons. Your comeback starts the moment you stop asking why me and start asking what now? That's where transformation begins. When the world says no, you don't argue, you listen, and then you move smarter. You take the pieces of what broke and use them to build something unbreakable. You stop blaming the world and start building a better version of yourself. That's how legends are made, not in the spotlight, but in the aftermath of storm. Every setback is a mirror. It shows you what needs to change. Maybe it's your focus, your circle, your approach, or even your mindset. But if you're paying attention, it will always offer wisdom. And when you start to see life this way, you stop fearing failure. You stop dreading hard times. You start understanding that every fall is a setup for a stronger rise. The pain wasn't there to crush you. It was there to shape you, to sharpen your vision, and to fuel your hunger. The next time life hits you hard, don't collapse, don't retreat, pause, breathe, reflect, then rise. Rise with a better strategy, with clearer intention, and with a heart that's been forged in fire. Because those who turn setbacks into strategy don't just survive, they dominate. Let silence be your weapon. In a world that constantly demands noise, attention, and reaction, the ability to move in silence is a form of power most people will never understand. When you keep your emotions, plans, and next moves to yourself, you protect your energy from interference. You create a layer of mystery that shields you from manipulation. Because the truth is, people can't attack what they don't see. They can't sabotage what they don't know. And they can't predict what they can't read. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. It's the quiet one you need to watch. The one who listens more than they speak, who observes instead of reacts. That kind of silence isn't weakness, it's intentional. It's a decision to protect peace, preserve energy, and make moves that aren't clouded by external opinions. When you speak too soon or too often, you give people access to your inner world. They begin to learn your fears, your insecurities, your desires. And if they're not for you, they'll use those things against you. Silence doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're calculated. You're not giving in to the need to be seen or praised. You're focused on execution, not explanation. There's a calm strength in knowing your worth and not needing to prove it. People will often misjudge your silence as ignorance or hesitation. Let them. That's part of the strategy. Underestimation is your greatest advantage. While others are showing their hand, you're reshuffling your deck in private, preparing your next move with precision. In silence, you gain clarity. You can hear your own thoughts above the noise of the world. You're not distracted by gossip, trends, or pressure to conform. You're locked into your vision, tuned into your mission, and grounded in your purpose. That focus becomes your edge. While others are busy talking about what they'll do, you're already doing it. And when the results speak for themselves, you won't need to explain a thing. Let your success be your volume. Let your results be your response. And let your peace be the loudest thing about you. When you don't reveal your moves, you remain unpredictable. You're hard to pin down, impossible to control. That kind of mystery makes people uncomfortable, but it also makes you powerful. You move when it's time, not when you're provoked. You strike when it matters, not when you're triggered. That's how you maintain control in a world that feeds off reaction. You don't owe anyone your process. You don't need to broadcast your pain, your plans, or your progress. What's meant for you will be revealed in due time. And until then, you guard it like treasure. Because your silence isn't emptiness, it's discipline, it's purpose, it's strength. So learn to let your silence speak louder than your words ever could. Be the storm they never saw coming. And remember, the less they know, the safer your power remains. Outsmart the world by outsmarting yourself first. Before you can conquer anything outside of you, you must first conquer what lives within. Your greatest enemy is not the people who doubt you, not the ones who betrayed you, not even the ones who try to break you. Your greatest enemy is the voice inside your own mind. The one that feeds your fears, fuels your ego, and demands quick comfort over long-term growth. The world is complex, but your internal world can be even more dangerous if left unchecked. That's why the first war you must win is the one within your own mind. Master your ego. Ego will make you chase validation instead of purpose. It will have you seeking to be right instead of being wise. It will push you to respond when silence would have protected you. The ego needs applause. It needs recognition. But true strength doesn't need to be seen, it just is. When you're ruled by ego, you become reactive, emotional, easy manipulated. You let pride guide your choices instead of clarity. But when you outsmart your ego, you become unstoppable. You no longer chase opinions, you chase excellence. You become someone who doesn't just play the game, you rewrite the rules. Silence the need for revenge. The desire to get back at someone who hurt you is tempting, but revenge only gives them more power over you. It traps you in their story, in their energy. True power is walking away clean, with your peace intact. It's knowing you could destroy, but you choose to build. Outsmarting yourself means choosing long-term legacy over short-term satisfaction. Anyone can react. You can rise. When you let go of the need to prove something to others, you create space to prove something to yourself. And that's where growth begins. Delay gratification. The world is built to tempt you with shortcuts, with quick wins, with temporary highs. But those who truly dominate are the ones who can say no to now in order to say yes to something greater later. Outsmarting yourself means recognizing when your impulses are sabotaging your mission. It means training your mind to think past the moment. Discipline is intelligence in action. You don't need to see results immediately. You just need to know you're moving in the right direction. That's the mindset of someone who lasts. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, every time you delay a comfort for a greater cause, every time you choose purpose over pride, you win. And the more internal battles you win, the easier the outside world becomes. People won't know how to shake you. Situations won't be able to rattle you. You'll be rooted, clear, calm, focused. And that kind of clarity gives you the ultimate advantage. If you want to outsmart the world, don't look outward, look inward. Sharpen your thoughts, break your patterns, challenge your own excuses. Because once you master yourself, no one else stands a chance. The world is not waiting to hand you victory. It's testing you constantly, probing your weaknesses, provoking your emotions, and daring you to lose control. But now you know better. You know that real power begins with discipline over your own mind. You know that silence is not emptiness, it's strategy. You understand that setbacks are not your downfall, they're your training ground. And you no longer wait for permission to act. You move with purpose, with precision, and with power. You've learned that the loudest voice isn't always the strongest, and that true dominance doesn't come from controlling others, it comes from mastering yourself. You don't need revenge, validation, or approval. You need focus, you need clarity, and you need the courage to keep walking forward, even when no one else sees your vision. This is your edge. Emotional discipline, strategic silence, relentless learning, and fearless action. When you combine those traits, you become untouchable. The world no longer controls you, it responds to you. And from this moment forward, you're no longer just surviving the game, you're rewriting the rules. So lead with wisdom, move in silence, react with strategy, and build a life so powerful the noise can't even touch you. Outsmart the world by first outsmarting yourself. Because when you win that inner war, the outer world has no choice but to follow.